rough landing, but welcome back, guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the ins and outs for testing for STDs. Now, did I leave my partner Devin Mesco up there? Hey Devin, come help me with this video.
Coming! Hey, Devin Mesco here. Let's jump into this video for real. We didn't know a lot about the whole STD testing process, so we went and asked a licensed physician on everything she knows about this whole process. Now, let's jump over to Dr. Fisher's office.
Oh my god, I've never talked to a doctor about this before, man.
Me neither.
I'm scared.
I as well.
Hi, are you guys ready for me to come in now? I'm Dr. Fisher, and I am here to talk to you guys about STDs.
Perfect, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, do you get people coming in and getting tested for STDs often?
Not as often as they probably should, although sometimes I will ask the question and that will then lead to testing.
So do you think enough teens are coming in to get tested?
You know, probably not. If you are sexually active, it is a good idea to get tested because you just don't know what you've been exposed to, and sometimes people don't tell the truth about whether or not they have a sexually transmitted disease. So the only way to know is if you're tested.
So, when's the right time to get tested?
That's actually a really good question. Timing is everything in life. If you come in to get tested the day after you have sex, the STD might not appear. So usually I would say maybe within 1 to 2 weeks after sexual activity, you could consider getting tested.
Should people be scared to get tested for STDs?
It's kind of hard not to be scared or embarrassed about being tested for sexually transmitted diseases. However, that shouldn't stop you because it's about your health and it's a really common situation. The medical professionals who will be testing you will be just that, professional. So go get tested and don't be nervous.
So, Dr. Fisher, what are some ways we can prevent contracting an STD?
So there really are 3 methods to preventing sexually transmitted diseases. The first one is pretty simple and not a great one. It's don't have sex. But let's be realistic. The second method of prevention is using a barrier method. Condoms are the most popular barrier method, and condoms can prevent almost every sexually transmitted disease. So that includes HIV, gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, etc. The one sexually transmitted disease a condom cannot prevent is HPV, human papilloma virus. Fortunately, there is a vaccine for HPV. All boys and girls should be vaccinated against HPV, ideally around age 11 to 12. If you have not yet been vaccinated, talk to your parents or your doctor about the HPV vaccine.
If you do end up contracting an STD, what are some of the different testing options?
Well, it kind of depends on what the disease is, and sometimes you don't know which disease you have, but when you go to the doctor, they might do a urine test. That's one of the most common ways to check, and it's pretty easy. You just pee in a cup. They also might recommend blood testing, which is a little less common, obviously a little bit more invasive, but it's not bad. And then for some diseases, we actually have to do swabs of the genitals, which is not terribly difficult for a male. For a female, it would require a pelvic examination, which can be mildly uncomfortable, but not painful.
So, what are some of the dangers of putting off getting tested?
So, it depends on the disease that we're talking about, but some of these diseases can cause localized symptoms. So maybe some irritation in the genital area, some unusual discharge, foul smelling, things like that. Unfortunately, some of these infections can be a little bit more dangerous. They can cause secondary complications for almost any organ system in the body. One example is syphilis, and unfortunately what syphilis can do is it can go dormant in your brain, and you can be affected up to 30 years later. So if you don't get these diseases recognized and tested and treated properly, you could look at some very serious potential long-term complications.
So what are the most common STDs?
I've probably already mentioned some of them already, but among the more common STDs that we see in teenagers include syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia.
So what are some of the treatment options for these STDs?
So again, it depends on the disease that we're talking about. Some of the more common STDs, including gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis, are treated with antibiotics, usually that can be taken by mouth. Some are combinations of different antibiotics, usually a relatively short course, anywhere from 1 day to 7 days, depending on the disease. Some STDs, unfortunately, are viral, and we don't have good antiviral treatments. So an example of that is HPV, and when it causes a secondary complication, such as cancer, that has to be treated. Finally, HIV has many antiretroviral medications, which are oral medications. Some of those medications can have some pretty nasty side effects, but they can be incredibly helpful.
Thank you so much for your time.
It was a pleasure, absolutely.
Check the link in our description for helpful resources on HIV and the links to our social media pages where we post updates on our videos. Thanks for watching.